Mr. Breaker,
Here.
Dr. Cross,
Present.
Dr. Kroll,
Present.
Mrs. Lehman.
Here.
Mr. Neely.
Here.
Mr. Roth.
Present.
And Mr. Red.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now is the time for the agenda-related audience presentation. Every board meeting has two opportunities for public comments. The first session of public comments at the beginning of the meeting is strictly for items that appear on this meeting's agenda for discussion or action. The second session of public comments at the end of the meeting is for other communication that is not necessarily on the board's agenda. In order to speak at this meeting, members of the public must complete a card with their name and topic and turn it in prior to the beginning of the first segment of public comments. If you wish to speak and you have not turned in your card yet, now is your final opportunity. The Board of Education will take all comments under consideration and respond if necessary in a timely manner. We ask that your comments address the Board of Education, not the audience. We will limit your comments to 5 minutes. Participants are expected to conduct themselves with civility and respect and follow the guidelines outlined in Board Policy 830. So, Joe, Dr. Sanders, anybody agenda related or?
We have no agenda-related topics.
Okay, with that, we will move on to reports, starting with the administrative reports.
Well, good evening, everyone, and I'd like to give a special welcome to Morton Cub Scout Troop 85, who's with us today. They're earning their civic duty pin tonight by witnessing one of our board meetings, so welcome, everyone. Okay, tonight I have a lengthy presentation about the Morton High School renovation project, and so I give you that advance notice that there's a lot of detail in this presentation. The purpose of the presentation tonight, while we're doing it in a board setting, is I do want to get feedback from the Board of Education about the presentation as we seek to go out into the public and present it to other groups in the community. And I also wanted a record of the presentation for anyone to access. If they want to pull up our board meeting video, they'd have an ability to see all the detail surrounding the renovation project. So we have a multi-phased renovation project that's going to be spanning over the next couple of years. So the way I decided to kind of tackle this presentation was to break it up into 4 parts. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? What will it look like? And how much will it cost, or how will we pay for it? So we're going to start with kind of taking a big picture look, a zoom out, and look at what the entire project looks like in its different parts. Take a look at the big picture, and then we'll drill down and look into each individual part of it. So if we're looking at, I'm going to try to let you get your bearings straight on this floor plan of Morton High School. The top, across the very top, would be Illinois Street, so that's the Illinois Street side. And our main entrance, our canopy entrance, is on the north side. It's over here. And you can see there's several different aspects, different parts of the floor plan colored, and I'm going to walk through each one of those with the timelines, the costs, and then later I'll get into some of the purposes of why we're looking at each one of these areas in our school. So we'll start with phase 1. We call it phase 1A and B, and it's about renovating the north entrance, athletic hallway, and locker rooms. This project is already underway. So spring of 2024, that's where we're at right now. And we know the actual cost of this project is $7.1 million. So going back, you can see that is represented by kind of this, I don't know, is it orange or tan? But this area right in here includes some of the drive, because we'll have to do some repaving, but includes kind of the center part, the athletic area of our school. That's phase 1. And part of it is to seek to have one main entrance to our school through these doors. As you know, right now, we kind of have 2 main entrances. We have one on Illinois Street, and we have one here. But we're seeking just for security reasons, to have one main entrance to our schools, which most schools have. So that's gonna involve many other parts of the school as well, as we renovate different parts to make it so that an office is located adjacent to our main entrance, which isn't currently the case. So that's phase one, A and B. It's A and B because part of it is being done while school's in session, right through the middle here is being done while school's in session. And part of it will be done when summer comes and school's no longer in session. That'll be more the PE locker room area. Okay. The second phase, you can kind of break it down into an A and B, although they can be done simultaneously. And that involves building a new weight training facility. That would be in the summer of 2025, and we estimate that to be about a $4 million project. And the second part of that, again, this can be done in tandem, is updating the East Gym in the summer of 2025. That's approximately a $1 million project. So what that means is on this floor plan, building a weight room in a place that there is no building right now. So that's on the east face of our school, facing our athletic stadium. It won't necessarily be this shape or this size, but this is just kind of a holding spot for where that would be located. And 2B is the East Gym. We already have an East Gym, but there's a number of renovations that we need to do to the gym to improve it and actually have it be a competition gym. So that's 2A and 2B. The third phase is building new main offices where the old weight room used to reside. We're looking at that for the fall of 2025, about a $1 million project. And then the fourth and final phase is renovating the offices that we just vacated into classrooms, restrooms, and other needed spaces. That would be the final phase in 2026 and about a $1 million project for a total of about $13.8 million. Again, these are cost estimates. We don't have solid costs on these yet. Many of these spaces haven't even been designed. So again, looking at our picture, once the weight room is built, the weight room equipment would obviously go into the weight room. That would vacate the weight room area to become our new main office area, adjacent to the secure vestibule area, making it a very secure entrance for our high school. Once we vacated the main office area into that space, then the final renovation is making this into classrooms, restrooms, other needed spaces that we see fit. Again, these have not been designed yet. So zooming in, why are we doing this? So this is a look at our north entrance. This is the doors which hundreds of kids go through every day. And hundreds of, or even over 1,000 citizens come through for events, sporting events, different activities that we host in our school and our gyms, band concerts, basketball games, volleyball, wrestling, all of those things. Hundreds of people walk through these doors. And right now it is a secure entrance. We do have electronic vestibule secure entrance, but it's not associated with an office. There isn't an office that has eyes on people really walking in on a regular basis. So that's not typical for a high school. This space right here with the overhead doors, that is our current weight room. And that's why earlier when I said we're moving things around, kind of like musical chairs, that's the ideal location for an office if this is going to be your main entrance to your school. So that's what it looks like now. So when we look at the floor plan again, I'm just kind of zooming in one part of the school. You can see on the right side this is outdoor space right now where you're walking up into the vestibule area. And when you walk in, you're just in a hallway. You're not in a lobby. And when you picture, hundreds of people coming into a space, that's not ideal and that's not typical. So we've got some traffic pinch points for people to route themselves into our gym. It's very tight and it's just not very good utilization of space. Other issues associated with the same area of the floor plan, and really one of the impetuses to doing this project is the inequality in our locker room spaces. So the quick history on that is this was built as one locker room back in the day when there weren't really girls' sports. And when girls' sports came about, thankfully, the whole space was split into two, but it wasn't split equally because football still used the indoor locker rooms, so they needed a bigger space for football. Well, our football locker room is now outside of the stadium, so there's no reason why these shouldn't be equitable spaces, and they really are in need of renovation. So that's a big part of it, meeting Title IX guidelines of equity. We have other issues. Right now, the public restrooms, if you come to a game of ours, you'll have a male restroom here and a female restroom here. And this restroom is actually associated with a locker room. In other words, it's the same restroom that people in the locker room would use, and there's access to it. That's not an ideal situation for public restrooms. Other issues are a small training room that we have. We have an athletic trainer who really doesn't have the space that's required. We have a PE office locker, a PE office for our PE teachers that's not located with the PE locker rooms. So we have a few different issues going on with this part of the building that we're gonna remedy. And here's some pictures that show you that. On the left is where you come through our main canopy entrance, and again, you're met immediately with a wall. It's a narrow hallway. And if you're gonna go to the gym, you would turn right here, and you would see this narrow pathway to our large gym. While I've got this picture on here, I just note that this is part of the demolition that we're gonna be doing. Not only the space that's right here at these, kind of the trophy case area, but also the place to the right of this door where these stairs are. This is all gonna be demoed, and we're gonna have 2 sets of double doors leading into the main gym. This is our weight room, and as you can see from this angle, you can see the overhead doors. This is the ideal place for the main office. So again, changing the weight room into the main office, creating a secure vestibule, that's one of the main purposes for this project. Now, as we start to dig into some of the detail, some of these things, I don't want to repeat myself, but I just would go through and say, relocating that main office so that there's one main secure entrance, moving the AD's office, the principal's office down to that area so that there's site there, there's personnel that's available right at that main office. That's where all the foot traffic, we're gonna try to filter all the foot traffic through that place instead of Illinois Street. So Illinois Street would, in a sense, not close, but be narrowed to there'd be an exit there, but that wouldn't be considered one of our main entrances. So that's part of that's one of the target areas. You'll see in pictures, and maybe in the very first title picture, you saw long exterior canopies that span the drop-off area. So that's gonna be a nice benefit to have canopies there for when kids are dropped off. It's raining, there's large canopies there. New athletic locker rooms, I mentioned that. The Title IX obligations of equity, we are going to make that happen. So the new lobby that we're looking at for this project is large. It's 3,000 square foot. That includes the vestibule, a very large vestibule area. You're coming into a very large space, being checked in before you're allowed to be released into the school. So the dimensions of that lobby are about 75 by 33 and a half. And you'll get to see some pictures of that and kind of get a sense of the size of that. So it will remove those narrow pinch points of people coming in and having to navigate in the crowds. And it's gonna make a multi-use space that we can use for all kinds of different purposes. Again, this is a space that most new schools have. Our new junior high has it. So when we built the gym, we have a lobby space in front of that gym. It's a concourse area, it's people gather there, it's multi-purpose, and it's a great amenity. Part of the lobby will also have an electronic interactive Hall of Fame wall. That'll be something you can go up and touch, and you can see people that are in the Hall of Fame, people that have contributed to our school, alumni. We have a lot of different design ideas about that. Also have new public restrooms and a new built-in concession stand. Again, I'll show you that on the floor plans. So if you're looking at, again, this is the floor plan as it sits right now. And what I wanted to show is the impact that this is gonna make. So right now, I know maybe you can't see it terribly well, but that's on the right side is the canopy entrance. And we're really focusing on these spaces. So you see the vestibule, that's kind of the brown. The maroon is that hallway where there's that pinch point. And we've got 2 locker rooms. So when we do this renovation, when it's all done, it's gonna look like this. The 2 locker rooms will be spread out. There'll be public restrooms in between them. And you can see the size of the lobby and how it went from that size, to this is to scale, to that size. And the size of the vestibule. So that's a big impact. And you can see up here where the stairwell has been demoed and pushed back, and there's a wider opening into the gym than there is right now. Okay? This is kind of zooming out a little bit, just to explain a little bit more about what we're doing. The green areas are currently outdoor spaces. So this is where you're walking up on the pavement into the canopy. The vestibule, I guess you would say, isn't really outdoor space. But the rest of this is outdoor space right now. This over here is courtyard space. So there's grass out here. That's outdoor space. So part of the project is to fill in those outdoor spaces and create indoor spaces without really increasing the footprint of our school that much or impacting parking and other things. The red are spaces that are going to be demolished. So those are things that currently there's walls here that are going to be taken down and leveled, and that's going to be part of the lobby area. Again, the stairwell area is also going to be demolished. So that's how we're gaining some space, some indoor space. This is a picture showing, if you've been at our junior high and you've been in the lobby area of our junior high, this will give you a sense of the size of this lobby. So the junior high lobby maybe is a little wider in some places than the high school lobby will be, but the high school lobby will be much longer than the junior high lobby. So this, if you've been at the junior high, this might be helpful for you to get a sense of the scope of that, size and the scale. Other targeted areas, the East Gym. So updating it with new flooring. The flooring is shot right now. So we were gonna have to do that anyway. Painting, air conditioning, and spectator seating. So the spectator seating is gonna be the biggest change with that. And we're hoping to get 450 seats in the East Gym. Some of you may know that the East Gym has a higher ceiling than our main gym does. And for volleyball, that's a benefit. So there may be competition volleyball matches in our East Gym where we've never had that before. Also, the new weight training facility, again, that's needed to vacate the space for the main office. And we'll take a look at the site of what that will be. So this is the East Gym. So if you can picture, and if you can actually even see how poor the flooring is even in this picture, I think, but the bleachers would be set along that eastern wall. That would cause us to have to shift the whole basketball floor off center though, which is fine, to make room for that bleacher seating. Again, there's air conditioning involved, new floor, paint, scoreboard, other amenities there. This is where the new weight room facility would go. So this is the east side of our school. This is the side that faces the athletic complex. There really isn't much, there's just a few parking spaces that we're going to be taking up if that's added to that location. It would be facing the athletic stadium, so I'm picturing a lot of glass there and a lot of natural light getting into that space. We have no designs on that yet, but that's the location that we have in mind. Other renovation target areas, so there's a lot more detail, a lot more benefits even than those major areas. So we're gonna look at the whole athletic area, renovating both the male and female PE locker rooms, not just the athletic locker rooms, with new lockers, toilets, showers, new coach's office in the boys' side. The girls' side has a coach's office associated with it. New officials' locker room that are in a secured area. Larger and modernized athletic training space. A new corridor that leads to the weight training space. And air conditioning, all the renovation spaces air conditioned. And air conditioning locker rooms is a life changer right there. So if I'm looking at this, again, walking you through that, and hopefully you can see my mouse pointer here. So this is the main athletic hallway. Here we have a concession stand built in. Again, here's the public restrooms for people that are coming out into the lobby. Not too far from the lobby is the concession stand, the restrooms, people picture tables and that out in the lobby for that. Complete renovation of both PE locker rooms down here with new restroom facilities, showers, all new lockers. This is the new athletic office where the male PE teacher side would be for supervision purposes. Again, all new showers, all air conditioned. Down here, you can see we've got a larger athletic training space. And in this kind of hallway that's not really open to the public, you have access to it, and also access to officials' locker room for them to change in the secure area. And we have space that we're even creating a classroom that's probably going to get used for a health class, and also maybe a film room for coaches. They could take their fellow coaches in there or players and go over film. So we're getting a classroom out of that as well. Additional, I mentioned the one classroom, the health classroom. We're also going to get classrooms out of the renovation when we vacate the main office space. We hope to get at least 2 classrooms, maybe more, certainly some other spaces as part of that. So that's another targeted area and a benefit to this project. Infrastructure. Now those are things that you're not always going to see, things that are under the floor, things that are on the roof. But we're going to do complete improvements on all the infrastructure. Some of these things we were going to have to do regardless of this project, like the roofing was just about due to be done. So the infrastructure improvements include old steam pipes in the tunnels under the floor, removing them, and also installing 16-inch pipes that are for sanitary sewer and storm sewer that run the full length of that athletic hallway. They go from the canopy entrance all the way to Bertha Frank, and they're in disrepair. They've been leaking, and they're going to be completely brand new under there. Actually, I've got a picture of that. If you ever want to know what's under the hallway in the high school, there you go. You can see steam pipes have already been removed, those steel pipes. You see the plastic white pipes, that's one of the storm drains or storm sewers or sanitary sewer. Other benefits are roofing over all the renovated spaces. So we're going to roof the whole space before we remodel underneath, which I think makes sense. Air conditioning installed throughout the entire project, including locker rooms and restrooms. Asbestos was abated in the tunnels already. That was done over Christmas break. So what will it look like when we're all done? So we have a few architectural renderings for this project, things that kind of give you a sense of the scope, size, the feel of what it would look like. And you've already seen this one on the title screen of a perspective looking straight south at the entrance. This is what it will look like when you walk in. You'll have a secure vestibule. You can see it's pretty large. The office will be associated with that, so the offices will be just on the other side of this wall. And there'll be a buzz-in system, check-in system before people can get through these doors. All security glass, security doors. This is you looking at, you've gone through the vestibule and you're kind of in the northeast corner of this lobby looking out. And you can see the double doors to the gym here, where we've demoed the staircase and backed it up. Again, on the other side of this wall is the offices still. Right now it's the weight room. Down this hallway, on the right, you would see the public restrooms, and on the left, you'd see the concession stand, not too far from where we're at here. Again, another perspective from the exterior. Long canopy across the whole drop-off zone. Here's another look looking straight north, out, as if you're looking out the vestibule area. Kind of get a sense of the scale. We're talking about polished concrete for the floors and white paint ceilings, but exposed ceiling. This is a look straight south. Again, just a little different perspective. The wall in front here, this is the wall that's designated for a Hall of Fame wall. Picture an interactive television screen here where you can come up and push and see whatever we put in it. Record setters, people that are distinguished alumni, whatever we want it to be. Another perspective, this would be looking at as if you just got out of the vestibule and you were coming into the lobby area. Notice there's a second entrance into the East Gym. This doesn't exist right now. This is outside wall space right here. But this is where you'd want to come in because the bleacher seats would be on the side. Notice the windows up high, so this is really high ceiling. This is where sunlight's going to come into the space, kind of pouring into the space from above. This is just a picture of what the Hall of Fame wall could look like. Our high school administrators, athletic director, are working on design of this with a company. Not sure exactly what it's all going to look like, but this is the type of thing that it could end up looking like, where you can see a lot of records and, again, an interactive television display. So how are we paying for it? So the total cost of the project, again, it's estimated. We only know one solid cost, and that's the phase one is $7.1 million. Part of that is cost that we were already going to do. So it's really not all based on the new design. Some of it was roofing that we were going to have to do, things under the tunnels that we were going to have to do. So we know that number is solid. The rest are estimates, but we're conservatively planning for a $13.8 million project. We're going to be funding this through a blended finance approach, so all kinds of different sources that we have, and we're going to do it without a referendum. So what are those blended financing methods? The board already agreed to go out for $6.1 million in bonds to be paid over a 10-year term. So we already have that money, and we're already earning interest on it as it sits. We are going to take the proceeds from the land sale, which is $2.8 million that we expect to get in by April, and put that into the project. This list, by the way, goes in kind of the order of that we expect to use the funds, from absolutely to not sure. So absolutely, we're using the bond money for this project and the proceeds from the land sale. We'll certainly have to use corporate personal property replacement tax. We're planning on using $1 million of that or more. We're expecting $3 million in corporate personal property replacement tax, but right now we're going to earmarking $1 million of that for this project. And again, this could be over multiple years. This is a multiple year project. We'll have multiple years of corporate personal property replacement tax as well. We currently have fund balances that we can afford to spend of $5.5 million in our operation and maintenance funds. We have working cash. We have $3.9 million. You don't want to spend all of that. That's for emergencies, but we feel like we can afford to spend $1.8 million of that. And then less likely might be interest income that we earn from some of our funds, or adjusting our capital projects that we do in the summer. Every summer we do $2 million worth of projects, major capital projects, renovations, not this major, but on a smaller scale. And we can always defer some of those projects. We can always put them off, delay them. Sometimes we bring projects forward. So we have $2 million to sort of, I guess you could say, play with in terms of deciding when projects will be done. So if we get in a situation where we need the funding now for these projects, then we would defer some other projects that wouldn't necessarily need to be done right away. So that's our plan, and it's over multiple years. And taxpayer impact. So how is this gonna impact the taxpayer? So as I said, we're not going out for a referendum to fund this project. We're gonna use the funds we have, plus the bonds that we just purchased. So if you look at our tax rates in 2022, in the 2022 levy, which means the taxes that you paid in 2023 last summer, so you do the levy in the fall of the previous year, so 2022, you paid those taxes last summer, 2023. The tax rate at that time was $549, and that included the bonds that we were still paying off from the previous referendum of 22 cents. So this year, our 2023 levy, which we've just done, which we'll be paying in taxes this summer, June and September, the tax rate will be about $5.10, and that includes the bonding rate of 11 cents for these new bonds. So we're kind of hitting this moment where you paid off one and you're gonna start paying on another. So we're gonna get to see a reduction in our tax rate. Now, it's not gonna be as reduced as much to the taxpayer as much as if we hadn't done this project. If we hadn't done this project, the tax rate would probably fall into about $4.99. But we are gonna see a reduction from $5.49 to $5.10. And that means that it could save taxpayers money. It could cost taxpayers less, depending on their own individual home's assessed valuation. In other words, you can't necessarily say that someone's taxes are gonna go down because you don't know what their assessment of their individual home is gonna do. It could be reassessed, it could be assessed higher, and then you're wrong. So we know the tax rate will go down, but we can't say for certain what will happen to an individual's home. The variables on that are the assessment of the home, but also the assessment of all the property in the district fluctuates also from year to year, and that impacts the tax rate as well. So I'm cautious to say that, what I can say for certain is the tax rate will go down. What will happen to someone's taxes, I don't know. If all things stay the same, someone owning a $200,000 house would see their taxes go down by about $53 while we're doing all this work. If we hadn't done the bonds, then it would have gone down maybe by $100. But again, I hesitate to say that with certainty because of all the variables that are involved. Okay, so that's the presentation. And I guess I would take any questions from the board at this time or any input. If there's something that you feel that I haven't shared that I should be sharing with the public, or if you have any questions about the presentation, I'd be happy to hear it.
I got a quick one.
Yeah.
First off, I wanted to say thanks for you and the high school staff for all the hours that got put into this. I know a lot of details went into what we're getting, so thank you to you and the high school staff. The only little input I would put or ask you to add is the door, the north entrance door. I didn't hear the coverage. I'm assuming that's gonna happen in phase 3 when it's gonna get reduced from the main entrance to a small entrance. I don't know if that was talked about.
The west door?
The north door.
Illinois Street.
But yes, sorry, the west door. I said north, the west door.
So we haven't designed that yet. But what we've talked about is making it similar to other exits that face Illinois Street, and that's a double door. So right now we've got like 4 doors across there. So we would reduce that down. We'd still need to have an exit there, but it wouldn't be a main entrance drop off. That's our goal. So we could take up some of that lobby space that's there, can be used for new construction, for classrooms or bathrooms. So we can kind of creep into that space and renovate it for spaces that we need. And turn it into other exits that we have along that same hallway that aren't really main entrances or exits.
Understood. I would just add that to your speech somewhere.
Okay, so put that in there, okay.
That's my personal opinion. You can ask the rest of the board members, but I think it's a big deal because it still looks like it would be a main entrance if you don't reduce the size.
Yeah, gotcha. I'll make sure I accentuate that, thank you. Other thoughts or questions?
I think the graphics are excellent. There's a graphic I would be interested in seeing, and that is taking what we're looking at here, taking it clear to the end, because a lot of people have commented over the years, driving up Jackson Street, just the appearance, and I would like to see it, that wall extended, what it's going to look like. Does that make sense?
Which wall?
Where the windows are there,
Okay.
I don't think I've seen it all the way to go the other way. The other way, I'm sorry.
Oh, see what it looks like on that side?
If you look, Tom, right now, there's 3 windows there. 2 of them are getting covered up.
Okay,
So if you go back a slide or whatever, if you find that, you was right, I think I'm correct in there.
Yeah, there are 3 windows.
There's 3 windows now, and that's how far that's gonna come out.
but then what's the rest of the wall gonna look like? If we're gonna do all that work,
So it will look the same. As we have it designed right now, there wouldn't be any changes to the rest of the wall. And maybe that's something.
take a look at that as you
Okay.
drive up the street, the impression.
Okay.
The impression I get here is outstanding. I'd hate to see us leave that untouched. But maybe it'll look fine.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. I give that some thought.
And then the same would be as you go around where the weight room is. The wall now looks pretty bad with the paint and all of that. Just that complete wall, I'm sure it's gonna look nice, right?
So where the weight room is gonna be interior space.
Where you're adding the space, which you showed us.
On the east side by Bertha Frank.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay, the new weight.
That'll be the back wall of the weight room.
Yeah, I'd really like to cover up that whole wall. We've struggled with that wall with paint, as you can see, it's peeling.
That's what,
Yeah. It'll be
that's
nice
where
to
we've
get
had
that
public
covered up.
feedback on those 2 areas.
Thank you for that. Any other feedback?
I think you're much too honest on the last slide. I'd like you to go out with the bang of your taxes are not going up because of this project. And just cut all the honesty after that. Without the road noise. I just have to say, great job being creative with the finance. And I think it's just really good news for our community that because of appropriate stewarding, we have the money to do this without walking around having them empty their pockets. So, the other positive that I was thinking of as you were doing this is how much safer this is going to be for our foot traffic to the junior high going down Highway 150 or towards the junior high, because every morning when there's lines of cars turning both ways out of Illinois Street and we've got traffic coming from the junior high,
Excellent
kids
point.
walking to
Yeah.
the junior high, this is really taking that traffic out of Illinois Street is gonna help our community and our kids be safer walking to school.
That's good, thank you. And credit goes to Ms. Kowalski, our CFO, for the financing. She has done a fantastic job of pouring through all of our finances and finding ways of piecing things together. And so all credit goes to her for the financing plan. And again, credit to the Morton High School administrative team. They have spent hours and hours planning these things behind the scenes, planning how to even do the renovation project while school's in session. That's no small task. And rerouting traffic and communicating, they've just been phenomenal on all of that. So kudos to the administrative team at the high school as well.
I think Diane made an excellent point relative to impact on taxes. And maybe that would be in your question and answer where you could answer a question and you would give maybe more of a top level. You're almost coming off as apologizing, and you're not really, and that's probably a poor choice of words.
I don't want to make guarantees that I can't keep.
Yeah, I know.
So that's the thing.
And that's important, and I think, big picture, I think you want to say that without getting into all the details.
Okay.
Think about
Yeah.
the other thought. Towards the end, you were going from area to area, showing the enhancements of what everything's gonna look like. And you were trying to use your mouth. I don't know if they can put colors that change for you when you're over the various areas so that the spotlight is on that area. Think about if the graphics could be done that way.
All right,
I thought it was excellent.
well, thank you for the feedback, appreciate that.
My comment would be every time I had a question, you answered them pretty quickly thereafter, so, and I think it's neat that our actual unofficial entrance will be our actual official entrance now.
So we're even talking about changing the address of the school. Because of that. When you think about it, you know, that's a Jackson Street address. And, we didn't do that at the junior high. But the junior high's main entrance was never really on Jackson Street, even though the address says Jackson. And so I did talk to, Mr. Carter about that, you know, what do you think about changing the address? They haven't had any issues with deliveries going to the wrong side of the building or anything, but I really feel maybe at the high school, we need to change the address so the routing takes you there instead of the Illinois Street side, so that's one of the things we're also working on.
And Tom and Diane, he's saying about the taxes, cause I keep harping on it, saying, don't say taxes are gonna go down, cause chances are they're probably not gonna go down. The tax rate is gonna go down.
I appreciate
And
that.
just to set the expectation to say, oh, everybody's tax is gonna get a lower tax bill, when chances are that's not what's gonna happen. And then they're gonna say, how did you come up with that? So that's, I could be convinced I'm not right, but I think taxes probably will go up for most taxpayers due to the assessed values.
But not due to our project.
No,
Well, anyway, great job.
no, good job.
Like it.
Thank you. The only other thing I have, and I'll turn over to Dr. Sander in a second, is we are still working on Morton High School GPA. I mean, we are spending hours on it. And it's clear to see why it's never been dealt with before, because it's complicated. Especially when you have a computer system that you're relying on to calculate these things and how to transition a new system in when you've got other students still in the system that you don't want to transition into the system. So we're still working on it. We haven't given up on it. Hours have been spent on it. But our goal is to have a presentation for some kind of change that we're gonna make for the better. You know, in changing it too, we don't want any students to be harmed in it either. So that's one of the things. How can we change it to something that makes sense, it's fair, but doesn't negatively impact any of our students? So we've spent a lot of time on it, we're still working on it, and we will get some information back to you about it. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, good evening. I just wanted to give you a brief update on where we're at with some safety and security type items. First, we had a group of admin, and we also included Ms. Bolkema and Valerie sat in on this. It was kind of like a recap. So we went to this training that was provided, you know, the I Love You guys, and so we called it the Next Steps. So I had Valerie load this up, the agenda and the notes. And so you should have a document in there that you can see. I'm not gonna go through all of these things, but we kind of prioritize 4 major areas. And so the first one is adopting the standard response protocol. And so that is a big step. So I have some tasks. I need to go through the crisis response plan that we have for the district, and kind of convert some of the things that are currently in that plan. For example, we have a lockdown procedures and a soft lockdown. The team and the admin team would like to move forward with, instead of going with lockdown and soft lockdown, just having lockdown and then secure. It's just a nicer way to get that message across. That actually ties to the after action report that I also included in there from the event that took place on February 15th. The actual event that took place where we had to go into a lockdown. And so when they said that, you know, we want you to go into a soft lockdown. So when you hear soft lockdown, what word are you hearing? Are you hearing soft or are you hearing lockdown? And so that's why the I Love You guys is such a nice protocol to adopt. when you hear lockdown, there's only one way to lock down, and that's lights out, out of sight, secure the doors. That's going to, the most significant level of response that you can go to. So when we reflect back onto what took place earlier, secure would have been a better term. Hey, we need to secure the building. That means everyone comes on inside. Operations can still, carry on with inside the building, and that there's a heightened sense of something. We don't know what it is, but there's a heightened sense of something. And so that secure is a better fit for. And so here we just had this training, and then we had an event that actually took place and affirmed, kind of what we were thinking as far as that goes. So that's the first thing. We're also going to be looking at some physical security improvements, and that could be the security film. Currently working with Rodney and our architect. That would involve a development of specs to get security film pricing at all of our entrances, and then just kind of go around the buildings from there. But the priority would be our entrances, the main access points in and out of the school. Also, re-examining, taking a look at, do we have places in our buildings that we don't have locking doors? Or what can we do to add a locking door in those particular areas? And then just communication, so mass communication, the use of radios. This includes our phone systems and alert systems, how quickly we can get a message out in the event. And so, so we've got a lot of things going on with that. Also, as I mentioned, I gave you what is called an after-action report. That was one of the things that they commented during the training is anytime that you do an exercise or a drill, that you go back and you capture the takeaways from that. And so I wanted to just share, I got that completed so you can take a look at the accomplishments and then the considerations. And so that's a legacy document. So that will be there as we continue to go 2, 3, 4 years down the road, that someone can review that. Okay. The last thing I want to share with you is, so ROE 48 is the Peoria County ROE, and I think they have 19 school districts there. In Tazewell County, Tazewell, Mason, Woodford County is ROE 53. We had our kind of task force meeting today, and so we're looking at the next steps with that group, but it was, this was awesome. So one of the schools in Peoria County brought this, and so this is, envision you've got your ID card, and then on the back of the ID card is the standard response protocol with all the stuff on there. And I thought, man, this is how fitting. This is such a great idea, that we could do, blend that in. So it's always, every teacher, every employee has that on them, so that when they hear, hey, if we're gonna go into a secure or hold, they've got the answers to the quiz right here on them. And so anything that you can do to game the system to minimize the time that it takes to communicate and then respond is very favorable. So we've got a lot of things happening, both between the joint ROEs, working together on a larger response protocol that would involve if we ever had to do a reunification anywhere in Central Illinois. And so we've got that, and then we've got just internal things that we got to look at, physical security, and then communication systems. So this is going to be a long process, but I think the next big thing is looking at security film on the entryways, and then just getting the crisis plan converted on over. So quick little update on that. Do you have any questions?
I like that better than little books at each door.
Yeah.
I say that for a reason. We had books at the military base. If this, then that. If this, then that. Sometimes you go out, sometimes you come in.
Yeah.
I think it's good that we're keeping it front and center, because I think I've said it before, but no school thought it was gonna happen to them. So continuing to be vigilant is, and then secondly, it's a very complicated thing when to go into secure or lockdown. and being overly cautious and not cautious enough without desensitizing everybody to it, that
Right.
then it's like, oh, this again, when it really, something really does, so it's a balance.
I think that is the best way I've heard it said, is just trying to keep things applicable, and a secure could be for anything that you just need to be able to, bring the kids back on inside the, if it's elementary, bring them back on inside. And it's not getting them to a heightened anxiety point, it's just, hey, we need to secure the building, come on inside. And then, the hold procedures, we could use that within our, operations now, for anything. It could be, something spilled in the hallway, we just gotta get it cleaned up, and we don't want, a classroom of kids walking down that hallway. So, so this is a really a good way to go, but I appreciate how you shared that.
Any other questions? Moving on to the President's Report, I guess, welcome again to our Cub Scouts. You can thank attending a board meeting to make your regular homework look better, so. No, it's exciting things about what we're doing at the high school. I think it's exciting, it's long overdue, and I think when, Amanda, you're in the realty business, but I think when people come to town, that's one of the things they do is they look at the facilities in the schools. I mean, they not only look at the school report card, but can they see, I want my child to attend this school. And by making our high school more inviting, it's a good thing for the whole community. And I will add, and one thing neat I think about the new entrance is that's for every student, every day. It's gonna be really nice during sporting and extracurricular activities, but every student gets to participate in that every day, and it's so all of our students will benefit. So I think it's exciting stuff. So appreciate everybody's hard work on that. So any items for agenda building? With that, we'll move on to discussion items. The item we have tonight is the Board of Education meeting calendar.
Okay, Valerie put together some potential dates for the next year's board meetings. I know we corrected a typo on September
17th,
Yeah.
not the 7th, I'm sorry. But it is correct in the board folder. It's not paper.
So you see one thing that has changed with the election day holiday. So on election days now are holidays for schools. So one of the Tuesdays would have fallen on election day, I think the 5th of November. Instead, we could do what I think this said, well, option A is that we would have 3 meetings in October and only 1 meeting in November. Or we could go with option B, where there's a November 12th meeting and the 19th. So those would be back-to-back weeks. In October, they'd all be 2 weeks apart, I believe.
Yes.
And you don't necessarily have to, we're not deciding on this calendar today, but just thought you would discuss it and we'd come back with a calendar that you would approve. And I don't know if you have any other thoughts about any other parts of the year and the meetings scheduled.
I think it's well done. I think we can also make adjustments during that time frame. Maybe in September, we know, based on some activities, we need to change the November calendar or such. November is when we have the conference and we're kind of squeezed anyway, so.
Yeah, I think we like keeping that November 19th meeting for that purpose, right? It kind of leads into the conference. We talk about what sessions we're going to and. But whether there's a meeting 1 week prior to that or whether it's 29th of October, I don't know if there's a preference or if you want to think about it.
I think it could really depend upon what's on our plate at that time.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
Can I add something?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
But once we said it, there's some things, Lisa has, it's a very busy time financially with things that Lisa has to have turned in with certain dates and times. So changing it, I just wanna make sure that she would have heads up so that we don't mess up her plan.
Yeah, once we set approving things for the budget, for the levy,
Yes,
critical dates that she keys in on when we set this calendar. Yeah, we wouldn't wanna pull the rug out from underneath that.
I would conclude that, I would let her look and see what date works best, and it ain't gonna make, it
That's
doesn't
right.
make much difference to us.
I actually asked her already.
And she have a preference?
She said what we decide, she will make work. It's just if we change it, you know what I mean, if we get and go, changing it later is.
That's where we've made the changes in the past, based on what we had to do with finances, get to the county and the state and so on.
Yeah.
I really think that it's probably better to do it the 29th of October as opposed to a week before. I don't know. To have a meeting back-to-back weeks, like, just because we need to get together and talk about what conference we're gonna go to. I mean, that'd be silly a little bit, so. I think option A makes more sense, cause there's more time in between them
Okay.
personally, but.
Could we get eyes? Eyes?
We'll come back with option A for your approval at our next meeting.
What you think, or no?
I'm agreeing, I could care less.
In the conference, it's always busy anyways.
I'm gonna make a note, make sure you're actually here at that meeting.
Or not, so we can volunteer him for something.
All right,
Okay.
we'll come back with option A and we'll approve that at the next
Which is
meeting.
actually I'm not gonna be here.
That, we will accept a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Dr. Cross?
Yes.
Mr. Red?
Yes.
Mr. Breaker?
Yes.
Dr. Crowell?
Yes.
Mrs. Lehman?
Yes.
Mr. Neely?
Yes,
And Mr. Roth?
Yes. Okay, in that approval, we've approved our summer programs that we always run each year, so we'll be working on getting that organized. So thank you for that.
That, we will move on to our non-agenda audience presentations. Dr. Sander.
Okay. Our first speaker will be Heather McNichol.
Good evening, I'm Heather McNichol on behalf of Peoria, Illinois Now. Couple things, I just want to put on the record that we were again subjected to an establishment clause violation with an anti-LGBTQ church pastor's prayer prior to calling to order and turning on the video. Also, Board Member Breaker, you have not yet corrected your misstatements about why we called for certain people to step down. You all have not yet responded to the Freedom from Religion Foundation's 7-page letter, as far as we know. And the plans for the new school changes do not appear to include a gender-neutral or family public restroom. I would encourage you to do that. There are lots of reasons people need that, and not just queer folk. You also didn't mention in that presentation that the school's changes are coming because you are in violation of Title IX, and you are urged to come into compliance because you've been depriving girls' equity, and there is a memorandum of understanding to cease discriminating against your girl athletes. People can look that up, just Google Title IX compliance case for Morton School District. That's on wcbu.org, March 22nd, 2022. But I also wanted to speak about the Fellowship of Christian Athletes that you advertise for and that regularly meet in this school. They are backed by an extremist hate group. The Fellowship of Christian Athletes has a platform that is anti-LGBTQ, is anti-marriage equality, and is anti-feminist. It also promotes a purity culture, which is shame-based, traumatizing, not science-informed, and against best practices. They are backed by let me read a little bit of their sexual purity statement for your Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It says, neither heterosexual sex outside of marriage nor any homosexual act constitutes an alternative lifestyle acceptable to God. That's in a public school. And then I have some shocking facts about the Alliance Defending Freedom from a press release from the Human Rights Campaign. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the Alliance Defending Freedom, because the Southern Poverty Law Center has them as a hate group. They were founded by leaders of the Christian right. They are a legal advocacy and training group that has supported the recriminalization of sexual acts between consenting LGBTQ adults, including those who are married, and has supported criminalization abroad, leading to the deaths of others. It defends state-sanctioned sterilization of trans people around the world. It has contended that LGBTQ people like myself are more likely to engage in pedophilia, which is a blatant false narrative against us and causes people to hate people and target us for violence. It claims that there is a homosexual agenda out to destroy Christianity and society. We just want our people to live and be safe and not have our rights violated, especially by people paid for by tax dollars. It also works to develop religious liberty legislation and case law to allow the denial of goods and services to LGBTQ people on the basis of religion. Imagine living in a small town and the only grocery there says, you know, you're queer, so go find somewhere else to get your food. Since the election of President Trump, ADF has become one of the most influential groups informing the attacks on the LGBTQ community. They are extremists. They're for criminalizing queer sex. They are for state-sponsored sterilization of trans folks, which will allow governments to then imprison people and subject them to forced sterilization that is blatantly Nazi eugenics. And 10 shocking facts from the Human Rights Campaign.
30 seconds.
They are the largest anti-LGBTQ advocacy group. They refuse to stop defending the same-sex marriage bans. They want the freedom to discriminate. They stand up for bigotry. They protect bullies. They help school districts to defend students who are attacking LGBTQ students and those wearing anti-LGBTQ slogans. They're also for splitting up families of queer parents and taking their children against them.
Thank you.
And they are anti-science. And you can look them up on the Southern Poverty Law site. They don't have any place in a public school. And those who work here have a labor law violation for hostile workplace environment.
Our next speaker will be Brian Grove. Our last speaker will be Dr. Ashley Fisher.
Hello all again. So I had hoped to spend today summarizing a recent study that was released in last month's American Academy of Pediatrics journal about a system that was actually shown to decrease gun violence and suicide in school districts much like ours. It seemed like a pretty important and relevant study to discuss. And yet when I asked for 3 extra minutes to actually present on this topic, I was denied. So now I will be, once again, spending my precious 5 minutes talking about how some of the egos present on this board have just gone too far. Because many of you on the board seem to forget that while I do participate in advocacy, I am also a doctor. I am a well-respected medical expert in childhood development and pediatric mental health disorders. I speak on these topics regularly throughout the state. I am an expert witness for the district attorney. I am the advisor for most of the local community support groups for pediatrics, and I have advised state politicians on pediatric healthcare policy. I am much more than a concerned citizen. I'm educated, I'm connected, and even though this board regularly invites other speakers with far less education and experience than me to come present, when I offer my expertise on a study showing how we can actually make our schools safer, on how we can improve student mental health, decrease the suicide rate, you apparently have no interest in hearing about that? I've been trying to get you to adopt this system for months. And now I have actual proof. Unlike some of the things you've talked about with school shootings tonight, this is proven to have prevented 6 school shootings, and you can't be bothered to listen for more than 3 minutes. I want to be very transparent in case Mr. Breaker tries to twist my words, so this is exactly what my email said. Hello all, I would like to request an additional 3 minutes for a total of 8 minutes for my public speaking time at Tuesday's meeting. I'll be discussing a recent study that came out in the AAP journal discussing the effects an anonymous reporting system had on bullying, weapons-based violence, and suicidality in the school systems, as well as discussing the science surrounding the medical effects of toxic stress on the developing pediatric brain. I hope you will find this information useful, and I thank you ahead of time for allowing me this time. Now, there is nothing political in that email. There's nothing even controversial there. It's a request by a medical expert to provide valuable information that you're not going to have access to because it's behind a paywall. And as a reminder, it's in your bylaws that I can request that extra time. This was the reply of Mr. Baker on all of your behalfs. Thank you for your request. We are not willing to make exceptions to our public comment time limit at this time. It would set a precedence that would essentially extend the time limit for anyone who asked. That said, we'd be interested in looking at the information. Obviously, you're welcome to split your presentation over 2 meetings or provide the information in written or video form. But here's the thing, Mr. Breaker, I already did that 4 months ago. I emailed all of you about this program 4 months ago, and I asked you to meet with me. I asked you to figure out how we could implement this program, and not a single one of you replied to me. So you can try to use that as a cop-out and keep acting like emailing is a feasible alternative here, but the truth is you just don't care to be educated by me for some reason, even if it means helping the children in our district. And that level of hubris is dangerous. I should not have to be begging you to let me help make this district better. And I'm not going to let this community forget that this is where your priorities were this time. I will remind them every step of next year's campaign that this board has completely refused to participate in any community engagement, even if it means helping the children of our district. That the people the public elected want nothing to do with the public. You need to take a step back and take a long look in the mirror on how we got here, because I am not the one refusing to listen or have a respectful discussion, it is you. I have asked to meet and talk out of these meetings multiple times, but you are the ones preventing that progress to help these students. Now, I'm sincerely hoping that that's a minority opinion on the board, and perhaps there's members of this board who are just too intimidated to actually vocalize their disagreement. And if that is the case, I strongly advise you to remember why you're here in the first place. Because I'm pretty sure you didn't get on the board so that you could help Tim Breaker silence members of this community. I'm pretty sure you're here because you want to help the children. So please remember, the next time a board member asks you to toe the line, do what is right, not what is easy. In closing, I know there's some girls at home watching this right now. Some of you may even have daughters or granddaughters watching it, and seeing just how dismissively you continue to treat me. It's important for me that they see that a strong, educated woman does not have to be cowed by a man like you, Mr. Breaker, who is so threatened by a woman who is intelligent and assertive that you would rather spend your time trying to silence me than learn from me. I am valuable. I am an asset to this community, and I can be an asset to this board. And your inability to recognize that and take advantage of that says much more about you than it does about me.
Thank you for the comments. Now we will accept a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of negotiation and personnel.
So moved.
Dr. Cross,
Yes.
Dr. Kroll,
Yes.
Mrs. Lehman.
Yes.
Mr. Neely,
Yes.
Mr. Roth,
Yes.
Mr. Rudd, and Mr. Breaker.
Yes. That will take 5 minutes to tear down.